Welcome back to the Sandy Trail. We are finally on episode 5 of season 3 of Sanditon. If you've been following along, I'm grateful for your time and your support and just listening in and talking about one of our favorite shows. If I don't finish episode 5 for some reason, please know that I will be back sometime later this summer. My new job starts in 4 days, so I'm like trying to get episode 5 done and out on there on my channel, and definitely I will be back for episode 6 sometime in June. And then I will go back to my other show, When Holds the Heart, later late summer, early fall of this year for season 10 of When Holds the Heart. I'm so excited. I miss the Hardys, but for now, trying to finish up Sanditon for the last time. So here is episode 5. We left off at the end of episode 4, Alexander asking Charlotte for help to find Augusta. Augusta escaped with Edward in the middle of the fireworks at Georgiana victory engagement party. So we first see Alexander and Samuel both on their horses, trying to expand the search area to find Augusta.
Miss Markham is far from alone. She has her uncle, his brother. Our parents are expecting us.
What's one more day when Augusta's future's at stake?
But Ralph is probably most likely thinking, like, you don't hear about our wedding, our relationship, like, this is not your life. Willenden is your future. He also doesn't understand the importance of Charlotte's relationship to Augusta and Leonora. Those two girls are so important to Charlotte. Like, they see her as an older sister that they never had, and they look up to her, and she loves them in return, like they are her own sisters. So Charlotte would do anything to help find Augusta, whether it would cause her wedding ceremony to be delayed once again, or even causing her relationship to Ralph to be broken up.
This is the last thing I'll ask. Then I'll come back to you. I promise.
Ralph, I feel really bad for the guy. He has really deep patience for Charlotte. She keeps making promises and breaking them. She did make a promise, like, we will go home after Georgiana party, but now she's making a new promise that she will go home by herself back to Ralph, back to Willenden after Augusta is found safe and sound back in Sanditon.
Good evening, gentlemen. I hope you had a pleasant... Oh, where is Miss Markham?
I hoped she might have returned before us.
Even just to collect her belongings.
Leo. Are you still awake at this hour?
I couldn't sleep.
Very, very bold of Augusta leaving Sanditon like that with nothing in her hands except for Edward. No sign of her back at the house, so this is very serious. Augusta and Edward could have gone somewhere really far from Sanditon.
Why is Augusta not with you?
Leo, is there anything you wish to tell us?
Leonora?
I promised.
Remember in season 2, Leonora ran off to meet her real dad, Colonel Lennox, and Augusta was on the stairs, a bit sad, and she had to tell Charlotte and Alexander what Leonora did and where she went to. Now in season 3, it's the other way around. Leonora is sitting on the stairs, not able to sleep, and the two men knew that there's something up with Leonora. Like, she must know something about where Augusta is.
Please, Leo. You won't be punished. Come now. You will not keep a secret from me.
Alexander, I feel like he's one of the parents that can be really tough, and I feel like he can easily raise his voice and sound like he's like yelling at them. especially the way he raised his voice against Augusta when Augusta was sad on the stairs. Then that was when after Leonora ran off to meet her actual dad. But Samuel, being here in this moment, he approached Leonora in a softer way, with a softer tone, very encouraging, like out of love, not out of fear, and that convinced Leonora to open up.
This afternoon, I helped her meet with them. I'm sorry. I just wanted Augusta to be happy again.
Go on.
She said she wants to escape.
It was such a sweet, humble apology from Leonora. I just love how she said it. Like, she felt bad, but at the same time, she wanted to help her husband, Augusta. You can totally see the disappointment on Alexander's face. I think he swallowed once. He was like trying to stay calm. Of course, like, he wants the whole story. Like, he wants as much details that Leonora can provide to him. So he's just staying calm and allow Leonora to tell them what happened to Augusta and where she is.
She talks of a place called Falmouth.
Well done, Leo. Let's hope to God we find her before she is ruined.
So that's a good thing. Leonora opened up and told them the truth of where she is. Good thing Alexander stayed home, and that comforted Leonora to open up. Leonora, she probably thinking, like, oh, Augusta will hate me for this. But she understands that it's a big issue now and that Augusta needs to be saved. In my opinion, I think what Ralph is doing, letting Charlotte go, I think that's real love. I think it's a sacrifice that he agreed to. He is willing to wait for Charlotte at the altar even longer now. It could be a day, it could be 3 days, a week, a month. Hopefully they find Augusta pretty quickly. That's a huge sacrifice, and even though he hates it, even though he argued a little bit about it with Charlotte before she left, at the end he's like, okay, like, you do what you want to do with Augusta. I know how much she means to you, and you a good person. So he respected that by the end of the conversation. During the silent goodbye between Charlotte and Ralph, Alexander, at first he was watching them, but he suddenly like turned his head to give them some privacy. That was like, a little bit intense right there.
I'll see Miss Hayward safely returned.
Godspeed to you both.
And then that was very nice of Alexander, giving Ralph some comfort words, letting him know that he will protect Charlotte at all costs. You don't want Charlotte to get hurt or die unexpectedly, like that would be like really, really bad. And Ralph was really nice in return. He's like, best of luck in finding Augusta. But overall, Ralph, like, we can feel like he is not too happy about this situation and how much involved and how much involvement Charlotte has in this family, that she worked for like a very short period of time in season 2. Lady Denham and Mr. Price, they are officially engaged. So happy for her. I think it's just a unique love story, a second chance at that love with that same man. Anyway, she is freaking out about Edward. She knows that Edward would never change for the better. He will always be Edward. It's funny, she have little hope that Augusta will be saved from ruin. Back in those days, having sex before marriage is like a punishment if you get caught or if people talk about it in gossip, you know. That's like a death penalty back in those days, you know, like if you have sex before marriage and people find out, or if you get pregnant out of wedlock, it's so dramatic. So hopefully Augusta doesn't go that far with Edward, and I always believe in sex after marriage, and I wish, you know, that part of society is still like in today's time, you know, like in today's society it's a whole different ball game, especially in the dating world. But yeah, it's good to have high standards anyway. But yeah, hopefully Augusta doesn't get ruined. I mean, the Denham family and the Heybourne family, hopefully both family names do not get ruined. But for now, Lady Denham is somewhat excited for her pending marriage to Mr. Price. He did say next week, and she's like, "Oh, that is so quick." And I'm like, "Uh-oh, are you having second thoughts, Lady Denham?" He made a good point. He doesn't want to waste any time. They are already at an old age, and, you know, live life to the fullest, right? Like, make the most of it, like, right now, like, today.
Arthur, have you come to congratulate me after all?
I've come in the hope that in the cold light of day, you might reconsider this rash, impulsive decision.
It is neither rash nor impulsive.
This conversation, this friendship, it's kind of like on the edge of a cliff that is about to fall apart, if that makes sense. Georgiana, like, what the heck is wrong with Arthur? She has no idea, and by now, Arthur should be very honest with her about Arthur and Harry together. We can't really blame her 100%, but it's getting to Arthur's nerve, and he gets jealous, and he's mad at her, and he's like saying these like hurtful words, and that can, you know, break this friendship apart, that can make them get into a cat fight, and end their friendship over a guy.
You don't love Harry any more than he loves you.
This has nothing to do with love. Look, each day the post brings yet more claims on my fortune and marriage proposals from strangers.
So that comment, that statement from Arthur, to me, that stems out from his jealousy that he's feeling toward Harry being with Georgiana, and Georgiana like, "Oh, gee, thanks." But for now, though, Georgiana, like, seeing this engagement as a business proposal, you know what I mean? Like, it's not real love. We never know. An arranged marriage can change into, like, real love, like, down the road. And I think that's something that Arthur might be afraid of. You know, he doesn't want Harry to suddenly fall in love, true love, real love, with Georgiana. Arthur doesn't want to lose Harry at all. He's like, he's my man. Like, you know, why do you steal him away from me? Again, Georgiana doesn't know, and then she is trying to explain to Arthur, like, you have nothing to worry about. Like, this is just a business relationship. But I always believe that, you know, it can change, you know, even though it's business right now, things can change down the road. And especially if they have kids, that's even worse, you know, that's even more complicated. And then Arthur will see the kid and be like, yeah.
Once I'm a duchess, all the voices will be silenced. All this will cease.
And what about your happiness? What about his happiness?
More demanding questions and statements coming from Arthur. He is really putting her in the spot. And I think he is showing it a lot now. Like, he is showing something that he tried to say to Georgiana, but he hasn't said it. And the next clip, it would show to us that Georgiana picked up on what's going on between Arthur and Harry. It's so obvious, by this point, Arthur is trying to separate Harry and Georgiana because he is jealous.
No wish to hurt you. But if you cannot marry him, why should I not?
This is like a high school cat fight, like two women fighting over the same guy. But yeah, that hurt Arthur. He didn't like what she said, but it is what it is. And I mean, she was very straightforward. She was like, you can have him, but I can have him. Like, it's kind of like she thinks that she had the power and the money and the position to take any guy that she wants. At first, it might be rude to Arthur for what she is doing. I mean, technically, she stole his guy. And second of all, like, she really doesn't show much care toward Arthur. She could have like, okay, maybe I should change my mind and let Harry go and find another man. But no, she's very determined. She had that plan, like, I'm getting Harry because, I mean, he's a duke. He had that position and that money, but the family at the moment doesn't have much money. But Harry is like the best suitable man to secure Georgiana's future. Much better than Oldest, even though Oldest is truly her one true love. And of course, she doesn't want to admit that. Arthur did ask her, oh, what about your happiness, Georgiana? And that really got her in her heart, but she didn't confess. She is trying to like stay calm and pretend like nothing else is happening and that she is happy with Harry.
And how is my daughter-in-law to be this morning?
Your Grace, Lady Lydia.
Oh, Mr. Parker. I'm afraid we're going to have to steal Miss Lamb from you.
Georgiana definitely know about Arthur and Harry. She already know about Harry's preference in men, but the way that Arthur had been behaving toward her, she picked up on it. That is tough for Arthur, and Arthur got emotional, and he tried not to show it in front of Lady Monrose and Lydia.
We have a wedding to organise.
Georgiana, she's still here for her friend Arthur. She's like the monkey in the middle, She tight between these two forces, pulling at her. And she's like, should I go with Harry or should I not? Should I go back to Oldest or find a different man to secure my future? She's like, like, which one? Am I making the worst mistake? Like, should I hurt my friend? Should I lose my friend over this guy, Harry? Lydia, though, I was like watching Lydia and she kept looking over Arthur, and she knows that there's something up with Arthur, and especially something going on between Arthur and Harry. And she did encourage Harry at the end of episode 4, during the fireworks. She mentioned to him that she found some ways behind the mother bag on something that she had been doing secretly, and she encouraged him, like, you will find a way too for whatever happiness that you want to have in your life. I know there's like so many like technical aspects in filming a show and movie, but I just love how they directed this new female character walking in the middle, and you can see how the camera is zooming in on her, and then she gets closer to the camera. And our only guess is that it could be Georgiana's mom. She is looking for her daughter. I wonder if she heard from the newspaper about her child. She is on the hunt to find Georgiana, and I'm like, yes, like, this would be a good storyline and a good happy story for Georgiana.
We've been travelling all night. Perhaps he should try and sleep.
How can I?
Charlotte and Alexander in the carriage on the way to Falmouth to find Augusta. The intense silence, but they get to talk a bit.
My mind is racing with thoughts of how am I to stop this.
What good will that do?
The die was cast the moment Denham declared his interest in her. Or rather, her inheritance.
As any parent, any guardian, you overthink of things, you know, like how could I have prevented this situation to be out of hand? Like how could I have done better to protect Augusta? But Augusta is very determined, and she is a kid, so it was still her decision, and she did it. Regardless if Alexander has a tight security or have tight parental rules around the house, it's not entirely his fault.
I tried to warn Augusta, but she was too stubborn to listen.
Augusta's not a child. She knows her own mind.
She's too young to know her own mind.
Alexander knew very well what were Edward's intentions in pursuing Augusta. He already knew that he is not the best man for Augusta. He went through a lot of troubles. He's a bad guy. Like, if you really think about it, you know, like he is a bad guy with a bad reputation, a guy that no one can fix or help him to fix himself. Alexander, he is a man, like, he is seeing this, like, from a man perspective as well. At the same time, I think he is realizing that Augusta is growing up pretty quickly in front of his eyes. She is at the age where she is still young, but at the same time, she needs that freedom, that opportunity to make her own mistakes, you know? Whether it's, you know, really bad to the point it's gonna ruin her, or if she gonna, you know, fix it herself and decide to go back to Sanditon, away from Edward.
Too often, young women are thought to be strangers to their own minds. It is left to fathers or uncles to choose the path their lives should take, as if we require saving from ourselves.
And Charlotte is seeing this from a female perspective, right? She been there, she done it with Sydney, and you know, that didn't go well. Her father thankfully allowed her to go to Sanditon to travel and to have fun and stay with the Parker family, but more than that, she explored a lot of people and places ever since she stepped out of Willingdon, and she learned a lot about herself and what she wants in life, in her future.
Is this not evidence that she does?
Even if he is unworthy, what she feels for him is real. She's a young woman in love.
One good thing of Charlie going with Alexander to Falmouth is to have this opportunity to talk alone. Charlie not only being there for Augusta, but also for Alexander. He is dealing a lot as an uncle, as a guardian of Augusta. He experienced this, like, for the first time. He's like what is the teenage, you know, attitude, like rebellion, like she just doing whatever she wants to do. And Charlie trying to encourage him from another angle of trying to see this situation in another light, in another perspective, to encourage him to understand Augusta a little bit better, and to try to encourage Alexander to be open-minded toward Augusta. Like, don't condemn her right away. Just have an open heart and mind for her, to receive her as she is. You know, she might be sad, she might be like crying, like, I made the worst mistake of my life. He needs to prepare for how Augusta will react once they arrive in Falmouth.
Tell me this. What should I have done differently?
Guys can be stubborn. Sometimes they don't listen. But he values Charlotte a lot, especially in the friendship and asking her for advice.
You could have listened. Instead of disparaging her.
And in return, Charlotte is advising him like in a nice tone. She's not saying mean things. She is very encouraging, and it's good because you don't want to make him mad again.
Persuaded her to make the right choice for herself, instead of making the choice for her.
She knows that Alexander is a good father and a good uncle. She sees that high potential in him, and she knows that he will make mistakes in his parenting for those two girls, and she is always there for them and always there for him, and just to guide him along the right path on what's best for those two girls. And it just shows how much she cares for this family, and she just love how she encouraged him and the way that she advised him. It's very honest what she tells him, even though it might hurt him. The truth hurts sometimes, but that's what you get from Charlotte. If you want an advice from her, she would give you the honesty.
All I want is to assure her future.
Of course you do. That's all any father wants. Including mine.
This is like the beginning of the transition from Augusta to Charlotte love life. She mentioned about her dad, and Alexander gave her that look like, yeah, because of your dad, because of your parents, they want wealth. They're not letting you decide your own future with him, Alexander, instead.
I must also own my share of the blame for this.
Once again, she's very honest, and she confronted Alexander that she played a role in Augusta's departure from Sanditon. Of course, she felt bad because she's like, oh man, like I encouraged her to do this, and now this is happening.
I told Augusta she must follow her heart, or she would live to regret it.
Alexander, I mean, he could be really mad at Charlotte right now, right? He could be like, what? But he somewhat calm, and I think he respected her for telling him the truth. That last look on Charlotte's face before the end of this scene, like I said earlier, like, kind of like transitioning into Charlotte love life. They were talking about Augusta, but what Charlotte said though, how she encouraged Augusta to make a choice and to go after it or not, you will live with regret. And I'm like, that relates to what Charlotte going through. She picked Ralph, and she's like, I'm gonna go with Ralph, but she can live with regret if she does marry Ralph, because she knows in her heart that she meant to be with Alexander, not Ralph. So at the same time, it's like back and forth, Augusta and Charlotte. Like these two girls are somewhat going through a similar situation. Augusta is like, really, really bad. Like Edward is like no good. But with Charlotte, she's a woman and she knows it. She knows it. Like she knows better than, what she have decided. Like she knows better. Like she should be with Alexander. She's like slowly healing herself, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't do that if I know that I was meant to be with Alexander. Like heck yes. Like okay, so they are being couple-y, like doing couple things, and I'm like, oh, I think he's just too old for her. He's just not the right fit. But Augusta, she feels much more at freedom. She's like, I can do this is my own life. Like my life begins now, and I have the guy next to me. Maybe, she probably thinking like, oh, Edward, he has money, he had a good family name, like this is an easy win, you know. She doesn't have to worry about finding the right one. But she just doesn't know that Edward is still a bad man. I think she does, but I think she just like deny it, like, you know, kind of like blind herself from the truth that Edward is still a bad man. She gave him a chance, but he is taking advantage of her, and she just doesn't realize it yet completely. Unfortunately, you know, it's possible that she will get hurt from this relationship, especially when her uncle finds her with Charlotte.
Heading out, I see.
I'm off to the old town again to see how young Dora's faring.
I hope she's recovered.
I hope she will not soon be out of a home.
Mary and Tom are still in a fight about the old town and the new hotel. She's very determined. She is not giving up on those people.
Mary, for the last time, please understand. This hotel will bring prosperity to Sanditon. It will bring jobs and a better future for all.
At what cost? It is not too late, particularly when there are so many sick.
Tom still does have time to turn this around and to fight for the people of the old town and find another location where it doesn't affect anyone, doesn't affect anyone's homes. He knows it. He knows it in his heart that he is doing wrong things for the old town, but you know, men can be stubborn and they just listen to only themselves, and all he hears about at the moment is money, profits, return from the investment in this hotel.
You can still do what is right.
Well, you know, this could be, you know, a big fight, you know. This could, like, end up in court. But at the same time, it's not fun to see Tom and Mary in a huge fight, like, in a huge disagreement. And we really didn't, like, see this type of disagreement between them, like, this bad until season 3. But kudos to Mary. She is sticking up to what is right, and she knows it.
Forgive me, is this the Parker household?
Georgiana's mom arrives to the Parker house, and I think Mary knew it in her heart that this woman is most likely Georgiana but mom. But before that, she looked over to Tom leaving in the other direction, and you can see that sadness on her face. She really doesn't like being in this huge disagreement with her husband. She knows that he can do better about the hotel location. Georgiana talking about her wedding with Lady Monrose and Lydia, also her future home with Harry. Lady Monrose mentioned about the East Wing needing repair, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like they don't have money to repair the East Wing of that palace. Would be nice, better even, to have the house, to have the palace be in good condition before the married couple move in, right? And now Georgiana have to deal with that, have to deal with the repairs of the East Wing with her own money. I don't think she knows yet about the money situation of the Monroe family, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I heard a conversation or remember a conversation about Georgiana finding out about the financial difficulties that Harry's family is going through. The mom, you know, is pushing Harry to marry Georgiana ASAP because of the money that she will bring into her marriage with Harry and into the Monroe's family. They were talking about Harry and Georgiana's bedroom, and there's so many bedrooms in that house. And Lady Monroe's mentioned about, oh, you don't want to be too far away from your husband at all times. And Georgiana like, okay, like, you know. But then, you know, she knows, Georgiana knows that, you know, Harry likes Arthur in a romantic way. So you know how like they had mistresses back in those days, like the king or the man of the house, like they have like their own mistresses or they cheat on the wife with a different woman or whatnot. What about if that happened between Georgiana, Arthur, and Harry? Oh, that can get really ugly. That is not a good idea. I know, I think too much, but I was just thinking, you know, when you were talking about bedroom and you don't want to be, too separated from your husband, like you want to stay close to your husband. Georgiana, thinking, calculating, like, okay, what that mean? Like, will he have mistresses, or that possibility that Harry could like sneak off and be in another town with Arthur, right, behind Georgiana back? That can be a possibility. Like anything can happen. I don't think it's a good idea at the same time to have Lady Monroe close by. I feel like she's very annoying. She can be that annoying future mother-in-law for Georgiana, but at the same time, like she said, like she can be right there if Georgiana needs help or some insight on how to run the house and how to be a proper duchess. Georgiana is very excited to become a duchess. Like that's like another rank up, it's something that she would like, especially with the position and the money she has, like moving, upward in the rank to be a duchess. That's like a bonus for her. At the same time, I think she's taking advantage of Harry, in a way that she would gain that new title. Hopefully, Lady Monroe will love Georgiana like her own daughter, especially with the intention of pushing Harry and Georgiana to be together just because of her money, like kind of like in a way, in return, Lady Monroe is taking advantage of Georgiana money. But yeah, anyway, and funny, Lydia said, oh, that would be wonderful when Lady Monroe mentioned about how close she would be to Georgiana and Harry. Lydia's like, good luck with my mom, like, like I dealt with her my whole life, like, good luck with her. You can deal with her for the rest of your life. But yeah, just so many mixed emotion and mixed feelings about this for Georgiana, and she's just trying to like stay positive, but I'm pretty sure Arthur is in the back of her mind, and hopefully, she knows what is the right thing to do. Mary was very excited for Georgiana. She couldn't wait. Might not be the best place and time to announce it to Georgiana, but it's still nice of Mary to let Georgiana know that her birth mom is in town. Lady Monroe didn't seem too happy, and I'm like, wow, maybe she's not that nice after all. I don't know what's her problem, like, I think it's a great news that her mom is alive and is found and is in Sanditon. I think it's just so much, I think it's just overwhelming Georgiana to the point she just ran off. She's like, oh my goodness, I have this wedding to plan and my mom is here and I have the future in-laws, like what they gonna think of my mom. There's so many things going on all at once for Georgiana.
Georgiana! Stop! Please!
How could you ambush me like this?
You spent so long searching for your mother. I thought you wouldn't wish to wait another moment.
I exhausted every possible avenue.
This is very dramatic, but Mary meant well. Georgiana is definitely not taking this very well.
She cannot be found. So whoever that woman is...
What are you saying?
I'm used to people taking advantage of me. But to pose as my mother... If it was her, I would recognize her.
It's shocker, like, to the horror. She's like, who is this woman that came into my life just like that? And her mom, like, Georgiana's mom, she never gave up on her daughter. And that proved when she showed up in Sanditon.
I know this is a shock. But if I had the slightest doubt, I wouldn't have brought her to you. At least hear what she has to say.
It's also possible that Georgiana is afraid to accept the reality that her mom is alive, especially with all the time that she invested in trying to find her, and she stopped, and then all of a sudden life threw at her actual mom in Sanditon right in front of her. Augusta trusting Edward with all of her heart, and I'm like, that's such a major fail. She is so blinded, and that look on Edward after she walked away from him, I'm like, that evil bastard.
If I'd have known it were him, that it would lead to this, then I would have never encouraged her.
I do not doubt it.
Alexander trusts Charlotte and her knowledge and her advice to both Leonora and Augusta. He knows that she meant well when she inherited Augusta. She didn't know that it was Edward that Augusta was trying to be with. If she knew, she would have encouraged Augusta to stop, or even go up to Alexander and be like, hey, I tried to talk some sense into Augusta, but she's still not listening to me.
All I knew is that you were trying to choose a husband for her against her will. The thought of Augusta being trapped in a loveless marriage, unable to be with a man she...
Back and forth between Augusta and Charlotte love life. Charlotte's like, I don't want her to be in a lovely marriage, and I'm like, myself as a fan, and Alexander doesn't want Charlotte to be in a lovely marriage with Ralph. Alexander knows it. He's like, why are you torturing yourself, Charlotte, to be with Ralph for the rest of your life? Like, you know that chemistry is with Alexander, not Ralph. That passion and that romance and that deep love that Charlotte has with Alexander, like, no one can beat that.
It was more than I could bear.
It was more than I could bear. I think she said that in relation to that big moment that she had with Alexander at the end of episode 3, when right before the kiss. That was an emotional time for her, and that was like a lot for her. That was overwhelming. It was more than she expected. It was more than her fear. She walked away from Alexander after that his moment at the end of episode 3 of this season. And they look at each other after she said that it's more than her fear. And those looks at each other, like those looks represent, it's like a mental message back and forth, like, you know, Charlotte, that you're making a huge mistake. Like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? You still have the chance to go back to Alexander while, she's still not married yet to Ralph. The very last scene we will talk about is Lady Denham and Mr. Price once again, and then we will move on to the second, third, and fourth part review for this episode 5. This scene, it's funny though, he changed his transportation from a buggy to a carriage, and he is borrowing, technically borrow, they still engaged, not married. He borrowed her carriage to go off to Bath with Mr. Parker, Tom Parker, and they just talk a lot about the future, and like, it's not mine anymore, it's ours. Like, we will combine our money, our homes, and the assets and the furniture and all that, the transportation, and it's becoming real. But then he talked about Lady Denham moving to his house, and she's like, wait, why it had to be your house? Like, why can't it be my house? Like, stay in Sanditon with me. And that caught her off guard. She's like, I don't have the freedom to pick the home that we should be in together as husband and wife. He was very demanding. He's like, no, you're moving in with me at my house. And she doesn't like that at all. Sanditon is her home, and that house is who she is. It represents her, and she doesn't want to leave her house. It holds a big sentimental value for her, and she doesn't want to lose it. She doesn't want to leave it. So this might draw her away from her wedding to Mr. Price, this might be a deal breaker.